Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second FCB2B webinar. Today's topic is benefits of using FCB2B POs and web services. What we want to do is we'll do a quick poll while we introduce everybody on the call. This just to get kind of a feel of what your company is using. If you're using the POs, if you're using the web services. So as you're joining, you should see a poll on your screen now. So go ahead and take a few seconds to reply. Also, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So we'll be taking questions on this call. So use the Q&A button to post any questions that you may have. So joining us today from QFloors, we have Edgar and Alex Aya. From QFloors, we have Chad Ogden. RFMS, we have David Marshello. And RollMaster, we have Patrick Ferries. And I am Lewis Davis with the WFCA and FCB2B. I manage the FCB2B program for the WFCA. So we're here to hopefully provide some additional information for you to learn how B2B can benefit your business and what the documents can do for you. So looks like everybody's submitted, or most everybody has submitted on the poll. So I'm gonna end it and then share the results. So it looks like for companies using POs, 23% said yes, 45% no, not sure, 14%. And then for web services, it looks like we've got 41% are using web services. So that's awesome. Okay, so kind of gives us an idea of what our audience is today. And with that, we will jump into a quick presentation and then we'll go into Q&A. Let me get this started. All right, so again, Lewis Davis, this is my contact information. That question came up on the last webinar. So I want to go ahead and present that up first. And this presentation and the video will be available on our website, fcb2b.org, within a couple of days. So we'll go ahead and get started here. So just a little information about FCB2B. It's the floor covering business to business. We develop, maintain, publish, and promote industry standards to communicate business critical documents electronically. We focus on the connections between retailers and their suppliers to improve productivity and efficiency. And the standards include both EDI X12 documents and REST web services. It doesn't mean a whole lot to most of you, but we are here to hopefully make your life easier. So some of the documents that we do, that we currently have published, we have a price catalog, we have a purchase order acknowledgement, the advanced ship notice, or referred to a lot of times as the ASN, and then we have an invoice. So these are the documents that have been around for, gosh, what, 20 years or so, I guess, or almost 20 years, and are used throughout the industry. So do y'all have any additional comments on any of these? I know we're here to talk about the purchase order, but these other ones are very beneficial as well.
The only comment that I have is that we do have a little bit of differences on the invoices, that they may receive an electronic invoice that may be fractionally off, since, compared to a paper invoice that may be shipped out as well.
Okay. So on our web services, we have 5 web services that have been defined. Some of the older services are the stock check, or stock and inventory check, and related items. I think these are, would y'all say this is more readily used in the industry, the top two? David, Chad?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Most vendors that are doing it have all adopted the first two.
Okay. And then we have the newer services, which are the price check, the order status, and one that was just released this year is the reservation service, which allows a retailer to reserve product on the supplier system using this web service without ever having to go to the website or to pick up a phone and call the supplier. So some of the benefits of FCB2B purchase orders, you reduce processing time when placing orders with your suppliers. Orders sent real time from your system, so you don't have to fax, email, pick up the phone, call. It's done in real time. And you get an acknowledgement from the supplier that you sent the PO to, usually within 1 to 30 minutes. Acknowledgements include the status, the reference number, your ship date, if there is one. If it's back ordered, it'll give you the back ordered information. And then again, it's efficient because you enter it once. You don't have to worry about, what did somebody hear when I picked up the phone and called in the order? Did they hear the quantity wrong, the product wrong? Am I going to get the wrong product? You enter it once in your system and it's done. FCB2B orders increase receiving and invoice efficiency because everything's tied together. It's all electronic. It all comes back through. It works very well. And then we've got nearly 50 suppliers on board using B2B. So any additional thoughts, comments on that?
So I'll chime in for 1 second. So what we just kind of talked about in these last few slides is when we're talking about FCB2B, it has been around for quite a while, as you mentioned, and those first documents that we're looking at have been around quite a while and are pretty mature. People have been using them for years now. I'm guessing in the thousands of dealers actually using them. And now you've jumped into what we're calling the purchase order, which has also been around for quite a while now and is very mature. I would call it mature. It's been proven out. And from our side, this is what we see. The people that take advantage of this, and I'm going to just say this, the larger the company is, and maybe somebody else can jump in on this, but this is what we see. The larger the company is, the more savings that they are going to see here. And we've seen even, the very larger companies that adopt this, I mean, they're saving, 1, 2, 3 people a year in salaries. And that's the kind of efficiency we're talking about. Now, obviously, if you're a $500,000 a year dealer, that's not going to be the case. So I think it is proportional to the size of business, the number of orders that you are placing, but there is a substantial savings. The people that have adopted this technology.
Yeah, I agree, Chad, that we've seen the same thing with our clients as well, and where their business grows by 20%, but they don't have to add any headcount to manage it. So it's a very efficient way to do business, and we see that over and over again.
I will chime in and say one more thing about this. Now, you shouldn't have the misconception that because you're adopting the purchase orders, that 100% of your orders are going to be able to be placed. Some of your vendors don't have this available, right? And sometimes when you're placing purchase orders with a vendor, maybe there's a problem or an issue when you place the order through B2B that you may have to make a phone call. But the point of it is, if you can do 70 or 80% of your orders using this and then have to take care of the other 10% or whatever it is manually, you're still going to be a lot farther ahead. I don't know what the other people think about that, but that's the other thing I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exceptions that you have to sometimes go offline for, like you said, and call maybe customer service. Maybe you're ordering a mixed truckload of goods or something of that nature, or something very unique. So, but you're right. The bread and butter, the regular stocking items, the regular special order items. No reason you shouldn't be using the electronic purchase order.
Good point. Good point. So let's move into the next piece of the topic, and that's the web services. So some of the benefits of web services is real-time inquiries to the enabled suppliers, and we'll talk about that a little bit. It replaces the need to visit individual supplier websites. So how many times do you have maybe order or multiple orders where you have to go to multiple suppliers' websites to find out whether they have stock, place a reserve, just look up information. A lot of times you can do this directly from your system without having to go to those multiple sites. Immediate response, where the purchase order document is acknowledged in 1 to 30 minutes. The typical response here is 2 to 5 seconds. So that really provides you, quick information, quick answer to a question you're looking for, which makes your salespeople more valuable, more available to sell, and it gives you improved customer experience. Y'all have any additional comments on that?
This is Patrick. I'll chime in that one of the main values here is your staff being able to use the software they're already using every day and check stock and check pricing right from there without having to log into 5, 8 different supplier websites. And it also allows them to do it right in the context of their day-to-day work. So they could be in the middle of quoting a customer, writing a sales order, and immediately do a stock check right then and there. So I think the fact that they're using the same interface day in, day out for all suppliers is what really makes this essential.
And the fact that they're not tied up on the phone for 30 minutes while they're trying to get an answer from the supplier whether or not the material is available or not.
Yep, good point.
Yeah, I agree with Patrick's sentiment. So essentially, this eliminates the need to have to go to Mohawk Online or Shaw Online, check stock, and come back. Now they can do it directly from the ERP system or business management system.
Yeah, we even tell people it can be an effective closing tool because, if they see that the stock's limited, they can tell them, hey, we need to order it now because there's not that much left and won't be there in 2 days.
That's a good point.
That's true.
So these are relatively new tools that we have in the industry, these web services, compared to the other B2B functions that have been going on for a while. So they're relatively new. And if you think about it, these tools are more exposed to the salespeople, which means more people in your company would be using this technology. Whereas like the POs, it's usually your purchasing agent or something like that, right? These kind of tools are available for everybody. And I think, open up the ability for more people in your company to use these kinds of technologies.
All right, good point, Chad. All right, so let's go to the questions are coming up next. So let me stop sharing my screen. And let's see, we don't have any questions just yet, but here comes one right in. Good timing. B2B would be more efficient if all vendors participated with software companies. Having to place orders on different vendor websites is not as efficient. That is true. And that's where we can use your voice, the retailer's voice, to get the suppliers more interested. I do contact suppliers on a regular basis. I've got a list of targeted suppliers that we'd like to get online on B2B based on their retailer's request. But when I call them, I don't buy from them, so they don't really give me much thought. They listen, but that's about it. So, where we could use the retailer's voice is the retailer buys from them. So, the retailer's going to have more pull with the supplier saying, hey, we want you to do B2B because we want it, it's more efficient for us. You have any additional thoughts on that?
I agree with the statement that it really has to come from the retailers and the dealers out there to push it and drive vendor compliance. Us as software companies are happy to assist these suppliers, but the voice really has to be the dealers that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with them.
I've seen a tactic that's worked. Just move their rack to the back, the people that aren't doing B2B. I've seen that happen, and man, it's so interesting how quickly people are wanting to adopt B2B after that. So, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it is happening out there. Yes.
Yeah.
It's also helped sometimes to let a supplier know that their main competitors are offering B2B and they really need to keep up. And sometimes that's a catalyst to get them to make some changes.
Yeah. Okay, so we have another question here, or another, I guess, statement. B2B data is not very reliable, especially in the hard surface side. Records are missing. We still have to fill in the blanks manually. I know one thing that FCB2B is working on. We discussed it last year in our annual meeting, and we are working with two members this week, actually, and that's certification. And what that's going to allow us to do is certify that the data going between a retailer system and a supplier system is correct based on the standards, the documents that have been provided. Hopefully that should eliminate some of the issues where, there's been some misinterpretation of how the standards were defined. And so they're suppliers providing data that doesn't fit very well into the software provider based on the interpretation of the software provider. So we've developed standards for certification, and we're working on that right now. Do y'all have any additional thoughts on that?
No, I think the standards for certification process that we're trying to get all the vendors and the software retailers, are online is going to benefit the end user ultimately, by making sure that everybody follows the same set of standards.
Yeah, it's definitely an enhanced set of standards, and there'll be more data checking and quality control as a result of this. So no question that the data quality should go up some. We still can't, if somebody wants to use a style name or item name that's less than optimal, it probably won't fix that, but it certainly makes sure you're getting the carton quantities and unit measures and things of that nature correct from the get-go.
Yeah.
I get this question a lot, and I think it's important that we all remember that it's kind of a blanketed statement that, hey, the data's not right, or what I see is that some companies do this better than others, right? And so some companies, the data absolutely is not good at all, or not very reliable, but there are other companies where that's not the case. And so sometimes people will get a hold of a company that maybe they had a bad experience with or whatever, and then that statement kind of carries over for, they kind of, the statement is kind of blanketed across all of B2B, FCB2B, which I don't think is correct. It's not a correct characterization of what's going on. And so, I mean, that's just my feeling. Is any catalog 100% perfect? No, it isn't. But there are some catalogs that even today, without the certifications, are more perfect than other catalogs.
Good to
I
know.
agree.
And I'll add to that, Chad, that the product catalogs get better and better. So many suppliers that had trouble with catalogs are now doing a really great job with it. So it is something that you have to stick in it for the long haul, take some bumps along the way, but know that the suppliers and software companies are working to make it better.
And usually once the supplier gets it right, I mean, it usually doesn't go backwards, right? They're usually pretty good.
Yeah.
The only time I've seen it go backwards is when they've acquired a new company. They went out and bought a new company and tried to merge the data. Then sometimes that presents a problem. But other than that, it seems like once they get it, it goes forward pretty well.
Yeah, that's good to know. Good. Okay, so Jacob has a question. Which software companies are using the reservation system? And since it is very, very new, I'm not sure, are any of y'all using, or have y'all tested with any of the suppliers, or any of the suppliers actually implementing that yet?
Louis, we're just starting to test with one of the suppliers. So it's, like you said, it's just in the beginning. So we're hoping that in another month or so, we can say it's working fine. So, but yeah, we just really finished up the coding, I think, on both sides of the fence. And so it's very new, but things with web services tend to move pretty quickly. It's pretty flexible as far as having to adopt and make any changes on the fly. So that's the good news. So we should be able to bring it to a production status here soon.
Awesome. That's great.
There's two things with reservations, Louis. One is on the current purchase order, there's the ability to put a reservation number in there right now. So, you know, in the PO that you were talking about on the other screen, the electronic PO, and so there is the capability of doing that right now. I don't think my users use it extensively, that feature. Maybe somebody else could comment on that. But then there's the web service reservation feature, which David is talking about here. And you know, that's one of the newer things that's up and coming. So with web services.
Yeah. So let me ask this. So with web services, we've got the stock check and we've got the reservation. How do you see those two working together, or are they tied together in any way? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it does. And if you're checking stock and you say, wow, I do want to grab that, then, you know, our plans are to hopefully just can tie that reservation right into it. So if you want to reserve it, hit a button and do that, and then actually put that right onto a PO that you'll then be sending electronically maybe a few minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we want to connect the dots there.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, I think our last conversation with the vendors were that, you know, when we set up the reservation system, is that there's a given period of time that purchase order has to be sent to them in order for that reservation to hold. Otherwise, that they were going to drop the reservations that were set, you know, within 24 hours or 48 hours, depending upon the vendor.
Yeah, I think most of the suppliers have implemented the same rules that they have if you call in and place a reserve on the online reservation, or plan on implementing that same. So, you know, if they have a 24-hour, 48-hour cancellation policy for reserves, if you call in on the phone, I think that's going to be the same process they use for the web service reservation. Just makes sense to keep it consistent. So Chris has a question. What are the vendors doing to make the data more consistent if the intention is to purchase using these records? That's a good question. So do y'all have y'all had any conversations related to this, or any thoughts related to this?
Again, each, you know, you've got 50 different vendors, and I think that question is different for every one of those companies. You can see that maybe what one company is doing is maybe not the same as the other. But
And I guess really the inconsistencies a lot of times are with the descriptions of the product. Would you agree? Or is it more than just the descriptions? Is missing SKUs? I can see that that could be any number of reasons. Maybe the sales rep hasn't got the pricing in. Maybe the pricing department hadn't entered the pricing yet. Maybe it's just the product hasn't been sent across for whatever reason.
Most of the ones that I've heard
from a PO standpoint, being able to place an order for POs, I mean, other than searching for products, I mean, is there data inconsistencies that would prevent someone from placing an order if they were able to find the product?
Well, most of what I've heard from the customers that we have is it's not that the data is that far off as much as it is the fact that their sales rep has not put them in for their price points. So when the catalogs are coming out, they're coming out with $9,999.99, per unit, and that's a clear indication that your price points have not been set up with the company, and that you have to call and get a price, each and every time that you see this, and that doesn't bode well for the end user, to have to call and get a current price for something like that every single time, because the sales rep didn't update their pricing structure for them to get a proper catalog with the correct pricing.
That speaks to actually one specific vendor, and it happened to be on their commercial line, and they made a decision many, many years ago not to put any direct pricing on those products, and that's why they came up with the idea to just put $9,999 just to let people know you better call to get the real price. So I agree, it's not user friendly, and certainly we wish they would just put a list price like some of the other folks do in commercial. This is mostly commercial we're talking about. So yeah, that one is a tricky one, and it's kind of misleading when you see it.
Let's see, Phil's got a question, and David, I guess this is specific to you. Why can RFMS not import pattern repeats into carpet items? I think this is another good question that I'll let you take a stab at, and then I've got something to add to it.
Well, it's simple. We actually, yeah, and it's a great question. And we, as you know, we have space for that to capture that information and post it in our products file. But to be honest, very few vendors, in fact, I don't know that any vendor today is actually sending pattern repeat, or at least sending it in a structure that we can post it. But that is part of the reason, you've worked so hard, Lewis, and the rest of the team to get the new standards in place where it's going to be better defined. And if people send it, we can capture it and post it correctly, and it may be the same for the other software companies as well.
Yeah, what I was going to say is in the new version of standards, we just recently brought out or made a change to the product catalog to force to make it mandatory if the product has a pattern, then the pattern repeat length and width information is required, whereas before it was optional. We couldn't really make it required. We didn't have a way of knowing when it was required, when it wasn't required. So with at the annual meeting coming up next month, we'll be discussing the change and voting on it for approval. It's been sent to the group. Nobody's had any questions or comments about it, so I'm expecting it to pass. So maybe that should help some going forward. Okay.
Maybe, Lewis, you could give the position of the WFCA on certification, what that all means, what you're trying to accomplish with that.
So for certification, my goal is to make the data going to a retailer as beneficial for that retailer as possible, and to ensure that no inconsistencies or misinterpretations have happened with the standards. The standards are fairly technical, and sometimes in the past they weren't defined in such a term that everyone understood it the same way. So I think there was some misinterpretation. One group interpreted they could send certain information one way. Another one would interpret it, they could send it a different way. So that led, I think, to a lot of the software providers having to do special code around each supplier to be able to process their catalogs differently than somebody else. What we're trying to get to is a standard approach so that no longer does one supplier send it slightly different than another one, and so everybody that receives it has to support the differences. We want to get to a standard that is consistent and can be relied upon.
So from your perspective, what would motivate a manufacturer, a supplier, or a software company to become certified?
Number one is to get it out there that they are certified. They can say without a shadow of a doubt that they work with the software companies that are also certified. So, Shaw, Mohawk, Engineered Floors, Dixie, whoever it may be, can say, we have gone through certification. Hopefully it's not going to be a grueling effort, but it will be thorough enough that we can say that it has some teeth, that when I go through certification that it means something. It means that my software, I can interop with anybody out there that's been certified as well.
And you're going to promote throughout the industry those that are following the standards and being certified, right?
That is correct. On our website, we have our website is being redesigned, and with that redesign, we will have the suppliers that are members of FCB2B, and we will have the status whether they are certified or not. And so that's going to be a big, right there on the website. It'll be very obvious who's certified and who's not, as well as we're going to be sending out email blast and putting it in the newspapers about who's gone through certification, who's been certified. Because we want to promote FCB2B and to make it usable and not have retailers saying, I don't want to use it because I did have a bad experience with one supplier, and so they must all be bad. We want to say, if you've got a bad experience with someone that's been certified, we'll pull that certification. We'll make them go back through certification again to verify that they didn't change something that broke somebody's system. That kind of answer kind of give you the information that you were hoping for?
I thought I knew the answer. I just wanted to hear it from you.
I think we all know
now you're on record with this recording here, and people can play it back, right? So
yeah, this will be out there on the website. May edit that one
but
question
it'll also
out.
be out there for everybody to understand that's the reasoning behind this, is to get all the vendors and the software companies to be able to work together.
Yep. And
not have bad experiences for the end users.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next question. We've got an anonymous question here. Since the web services are newer, do suppliers typically support both EDI catalogs, POs, and the web services at the same time? I think I know the answer, but I'll let y'all chime in. So do they do?
I didn't quite hear that, Louis.
Okay, so the question was, do suppliers typically do EDI and web services, or is it one or the other?
Oh, no, it's got to be both, because the web services depends on you using the 832 catalog, because that's where the SKUs are. And when a web service is submitted, you're submitting a specific SKU to do a stock check, for example. So you have to have they're actually independent, they're interrelated, excuse me. So you have to have both. You have to have the catalog in place, the 832 catalog, in order to do the web service.
The web service really enhances the rest of the documents that are out there. Would y'all agree?
Builds upon it, yes.
Yes.
In fact, I would tell you one other thing about it, like with the related items check that they have for web services. More of the vendors can give you all the associated trims and adhesives and cleaners and things that go with the core product through the web service than they can sometimes in the catalog. So you can actually get more information just by doing that web call.
Good point. All right. Sarah asks, a list of who to contact for B2B at each supplier, so we are sending a request to the correct person would be helpful. And that is as part of our website redesign. We are going to include all that type of information. So for every supplier that is a member of FCB2B, we're going to have the contact person for B2B, whether they have a website that you request it through, whether it's an email, the email address, and a phone number if they'll provide a phone number for direct contact. So that's something that we are working towards getting, because that is a common question.
What's the launch date for that site?
We hope to have the site up and ready and introduced at the annual meeting, which is September 28th. So that the website should be up and ready on or before the 28th. Okay. Is there a list of suppliers that offer web services? I have started a request. Number one, to help build the website, the information for what services each supplier supports, and that is a question that I am looking to put on the website as well. Is what services, whether they offer web services, and if so, which of the 5 web services they say they support. Because again, it's a question I get. I'm not out there, working with each supplier on a daily basis. So they add new web services or new documents and I'm not aware. So I try to keep up with the list so that if there's any questions, I can answer them. I can provide a list if you want to email me at ldavis@wfca.org. I can provide you a list of the suppliers that I'm aware of currently that offer web services and which ones. And then let's see, Chris has a question. How can we work with the vendors we purchase from to adopt these B2B services? Currently have only 4 or 5 vendors that allow electronic purchasing and services. We would like to do more, but a lot of these vendors are not applicable to our area. So do y'all have any thoughts on that?
Well, the question would be, the vendor that they're using, does the vendor actually have anybody there that actually has or sets up the B2B system for them? And if they don't, then, it would be up to the vendor to have to hire personnel to do that, to create and manage a B2B system for that particular vendor. But if they're on our list, then that's already set up. If the vendor is already on our list of approved vendors, then they can make use of any of those.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think that does go back to the dealer being the voice. So if the supplier is not participating in B2B services, you as the dealer making sure they're aware that it's important to you and that you're going to potentially opt to do more business with suppliers that communicate electronically.
And I would say, yeah, I agree with that, Patrick. And also, even though, business conditions have slowed down a little bit lately, we're still seeing activity with vendors wanting to come aboard and offer B2B. So, you know, that, thank goodness that really it slowed a little bit for a few months, but now it's picking back up. So, you know, we're all going to be at that 50 vendor mark pretty soon, and who knows, maybe it'll be 55 or 60 before long. So yeah, it's always increasing, that's for sure.
Okay. And also on our website under resources tab, I created a letter from a retailer's perspective to a supplier, kind of documenting the benefits for both the retailer and the supplier. It's done so that a retailer can download the form, add their company information, and then send that to or provide that to their sales rep or to someone at the company they're wanting to do, and not have to know the technical ends and the benefits for the supplier from a retailer perspective. All you have to do is download the form. It's kind of a form letter, download it, add your information, and send it on, so that you know, it's a consistent way of requesting B2B from those suppliers that don't currently have B2B, but you would really like them to have. So go visit FCB2B, click on the resources tab. I believe it's right there at the top of the list. You'll see the a form letter that you can download and fill out and send. So don't have any other questions that come in, but I have a question. So as a retailer, if I'm a retailer using B2B just to maintain my products and prices, do I have to add all documents to get the benefits of the PO? So if I'm getting the 832 today, do I have to do the invoice and the ASN and all these web services as well? Or can I just go from the product catalog and start sending POs?
You could go from the product catalog and still start sending POs, yes. But having the additional documents is only going to enhance the experience.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yes, you can do a PO, you know, just based off the catalog, but once you send an order electronically, your PO number has been captured electronically. It pushes through to the invoice, to the ASN, and so when you're processing those documents further downstream, your match rate goes way up, and your processing efficiency goes way up. So there's really no reason not to use all the documents, because they do work together, especially when things are ordered electronically. It really enhances the whole experience.
And I think David said this earlier. I'll just reiterate what he said. You know, that 830, that product catalog is kind of the core document. So all these other things that we're talking about kind of build off of that, at least from my perspective. So yep. It is kind of the core, that product catalog, but then all the other features we're talking about kind of build off of that catalog.
Yeah, and like David said, you know, the PO contains the purchase order number. It contains line numbers that come back on the advanced ship notice and on the invoice. So it allows everything to match back up. So you're able to see what you ordered, what was received, and what they invoiced you for, and confirm whether you didn't get out everything you ordered, or if you're still missing something, if they sent you too much, too little, you know, the whole 9 yards. I mean, the picture really opens up. Okay. So how would, again, from a retailer's perspective, how would my salespeople use the stock check service? So do y'all have any examples of how some of the retailers are using stock check?
Well, I mean, I think Patrick might have said it earlier today, but again, you can usually, in our different systems, you can click a button if you're, building a quote or an order, or maybe you're even using one of our mobile apps, where you can, as you're looking at product, you can just go on an icon basically and do a quick stock check to see if it's available. And then also, if it's an item, you can check to see if the related trims are available. So, and you can know the answers to those things in usually 5 seconds or less, which is, information is power. So that's pretty powerful. And the same thing with the folks that are now also allowing price checks. So there's a lot of things you can check very quickly without having to, call anybody or go to a website and look it up, and, drill down 3 or 4 levels to get to where you need to go. So we think there's a lot of value to that.
So that's 24/7, right? 7 days a week. You can do it in the middle of the night. You can do it on, and a lot of distributors and stuff like that won't answer the phone after business hours, right? So there's a lot of advantages. And like, I think what David's saying is right. From a sales order, when somebody's building a sales order, they can just click a button right there on, I think, most all of our systems that will tell them what there is in stock.
Well, that's the key to in the process of doing the sales order. If you find something that's not in stock, you're right there in the middle of doing it. You have the ability to check and verify that, and then get with your customer and let them know, no, we can't get this, but we can get that, and change the order right then and there in the middle of the process.
So y'all mentioned the related items, so the accessories. So let me ask you this. What would be the use of having the related product service if the associations are already being included in the product catalog? So, if I get the product catalog today from the supplier and he sends me the associated products or related items in the product catalog associated with each product, what would be the benefit of me using the web service for related items as well? I mean, in essence, the accessories should already be in my system.
Well, they should be, but many times not every supplier can send associated products. But what I'm finding as we go deeper into the web services side, it's people can send associated products through web services. It seems to be easier for them to share that information. And not only are they sharing the list of products, but they're giving you the quantities that are available. So to the point that I was talking about a minute ago, that whether or not you can get the trim pieces to go with the core. So again, it may help close a sale, or in some cases, you may have to redirect the client to another product that is available if they're trying to do it quickly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what everybody else's experience is, so I'm just going to speak for myself, and maybe you guys can add on to this. That associated products from a programming, from a technology point of view, is a more complex data structure that has to be handled by our software. And the ability to, if there's a change made to an associated product, like let's say that they want to change the trim pieces that are associated with some product, and the process that somebody might have to go through to update that, and the vendors to get it right, and then give it to us to get us get it right. There's a lot of potential for error in that, and that's my viewpoint. I could be wrong. And so I think to David's point, what he's saying, to offload that complex data handling and data structure of associations, to let that stay at the vendor, I think in the long run, the data is going to be more reliable.
And probably more up to date through a web service than it would be.
That talks about reliability. Yep. So when people are talking about how can we make data more reliable, this is one way.
Because I could see a product catalog getting sent last week for a new product and accessories being sent, but accessories being added to that product, but from the time it was sent to today. And maybe I haven't gotten a product catalog, or maybe I haven't downloaded the product catalog, but yet I can do a web service call and I can get all of those associated products that are current today, not what was sent to me last week or last month or 6 months ago. I can get what's current now and have all that information.
Without going through drops, deletes, changes. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. So Chris just asked a question regarding associated product bundles. we are seeing that related items are easier to access and look up. Thank you for adding that service. So there we go. That's a big benefit right there. So I'm glad you're seeing the benefit to it. All right. One last question, and then if there's no other questions, I guess we can end the call. How can I get updated square foot per carton information? Is there a service for that? David, I think you touched on it earlier.
Well, not, it doesn't, on all the services, you know, it'll bring back like, you know, the measure square foot each piece, cartons, whatever. It doesn't actually show you the number of square feet per carton in one of the services, although we probably could easily be added to have it there. Today, we depend heavily on the 832 product catalog to have that downloaded. And most vendors, I would say 90+% of them do send the square feet per carton. So it is available in the catalog, not really in the web services, but I think it could be added without much difficulty.
Okay. Okay, well, we can look into that. I'll add one more question. What advice or tips do you have for a retailer looking to implement B2B for the first time?
Don't be afraid to try it. The biggest thing that holds people back is fear, and possibly that they're used to doing business the way that they've always done it, and so they're nervous about new technologies, about changing their processes. I would say don't be afraid. There's, like I said before, I think there are thousands. There's more than 1,000 dealers that are getting their catalogs, you know, through this service. So I'm guessing probably 20% of the industry, at least, are doing their catalogs this way. At least the biggest dealers, the most, maybe the very smallest dealers are not, but you know, the majority of people doing business are getting their catalogs through B2B.
Good to know. Anything else? Any other?
I'd say when it, like Chad said, don't be afraid to try something new, and be sure to make a commitment to really use it, to give it a good, fair shot. Most of the software companies offer some type of help desk or support desk to help guide you through the process and answer your questions. So take advantage of that, and they even have training sessions, online videos, all types of good information that they can access. So the help is there, and I know on the software side, from all the companies here on the call, they're all committed to helping clients use this technology. So you don't have to go it alone.
And it's been out there for quite a while, and it's been used for a number of years. So it's not brand new technology. It's been well vetted. So, all right. Well, I would like to thank everybody for joining, and for our panelists for participating today. I think I don't see any other questions that have come in. So I guess we will end just a couple of minutes early. We almost made the full hour. So thank you everybody for joining. And again, this video was recorded, this webinar was recorded, and will be on the FCB2B.org website by the end of the week. And again, thank you for joining, and thank you, panelists.
Thanks everybody.
All right.